Sigh. So today we're going to talk about the recent events concerning the channel Markiplier, where a number of his supporters had their accounts terminated. Before we do that though, we should address an obvious remark. The remark is that this censorship has been going on for a while, which there is some truth to. Back when the straw that broke the camel's back happened along with the first adpocalypse, many channels were struck, many channels were demonetized, many channels gave up because they'd lost all their income over something they had no control over, or because they were guilt by association associated with those that were in fact breaching the original terms of service. YouTube, to counter this, updated their terms of service so that they were no longer guilty by association, they were just guilty. As the years have gone by and more channels have been demonetized because the terms have been changed over and over again, many other things have taken place, along with subsequent adpocalypses, an incoming supposed adpocalypse, courtesy of that personalized ads checkbox. I think it's something to do with children, videos being suitable for... Anyway, time has gone by, channels have been terminated, channels have been fully demonetized with no option to appeal, or if they have appealed, they are still waiting, many citing their political leaning as the reason for it. And there is undoubtedly a trend that leans towards those who are more right-leaning, which is a damning statement. Markiplier's recent video cements the belief that this site is becoming more authoritarian and censorship-prone. However, I don't want to conflate the two incidents, because there is a very, very big difference between the two. The major difference in this case being that in Markiplier's own video, which you see on that screen over there, is that he explains what the emojis are used for. The emojis he used during a live stream that got over 100 counts terminated, for spamming no less. And upon appeal, those subsequent accounts lost. To prove this, Markiplier shows a lot of receipts, confirming the suspicion that these channels and or accounts were terminated unfairly because of some algorithmic issue. I heard about this through other people, by the way. Upon looking at Markiplier's Twitter, I found a video that he had made on the subject, and underneath there were a lot of comments. Understandably, YouTube won't reply to him. They never reply to anyone. They sometimes respond when the outrage is just enough, but otherwise they don't get involved. Either that or they don't care, which is more than likely at this point. With all the channels that have been hurt and those that are about to get hurt even more, and I'll get to it in a moment, many are worried. My view has always been on this site to adapt. It is why as the years have gone by, you hear less profanity, because I am trying to not lose monetization, which sounds selfish, but I'm okay with that. I'm not asking you to turn off pesky ad block. In fact, keep it on. Seriously, I don't mind. It's less about the money and more about promoting the content and the channel. I can't grow if I'm not monetized. I know Styx is a bit of an exception that proves a rule, but he is a rare one at that, and he works a lot harder than I ever could. To add and compound all these issues of recent account terminations, let's talk about the terms of service change, where the comment reads equivalent to, if you aren't commercially viable, bye. Which to me is a very interesting thing to have written, because it means one of two things. Either it means all accounts, which includes those that aren't monetized, which creates a new problem from the offset, or it only means those that are monetized and are possibly affected when their videos are continually demonetized. With me it's a hit or miss, so I can never be sure. If it means all accounts, the key issue there are the startup channels, those who are trying to grow, and upon reaching the target set by YouTube to apply for monetization, to be denied that opportunity in the offset because they're already not commercially viable, which reeks of wrong, which is why I tend to believe it is less about them and those who are growing on the site but aren't monetized anyway, and more in favor of those who are monetized and those who are monetized and regularly have videos that are demonetized. This was a discussion I had with Trups on Friday, and it's one I tend to sway towards the latter because I don't believe they would try and hurt people who are trying to grow something, unless they're running out of server space, which is absolute nonsense. Gotta free up that memory, gotta clear all that pesky controversy. Yeah. With everything that has been going on, and this is a bit of a weird segue, I know, but everything I have seen over the last 4.5 years reeks of a long game. Tinfoil hat, everyone. My thought has always been that YouTube was trying to phase out those undesirable. By that I mean anyone that doesn't share YouTube's beliefs, while claiming to support free speech, which they have claimed on multiple occasions they desire to protect. They're going out of their way to do everything to get rid of it. Now, with what happened with Markiplier's channel, I don't think it was free speech, and I think it was an algorithmic mistake. However, and I say this because you can only post so many times before you have a mandatory cooldown, unless you're all mods, in which case, have at it. The belief with that is less that it is about censorship, but the result from the appeals has me curious. But the overarching point about all of this is about censoring people for whatever reason possible, and that long game has always been, let's make this more like a kid's show. After all, those soon-to-be-introduced rules have many people very curious about where YouTube intends to go next. While not the most commercially viable platform, I'm sure they still make some money somewhere. Maybe it was from the channels they took monetization away from and held on to the money. I've heard how much money they still owe Sinatra. Oh dear. That is not good optics. And I would have thought, considering Markiplier has a subscriber base of over 24 million, they would pay some attention to his voice. His very, very attractive voice, I have to admit. I'm quite jealous. Nice one, Mark. The point is, you don't listen, YouTube that is. You don't act. You don't fix. You are changing while claiming to do what the creators want, but not doing anything we want. I can't wait for YouTube Rewind this year, by the way. I wonder if censorship's going to feature on that, or if you're going to do another cringy Fortnite video. Oh, the ratio. I've gone off tracks. I do apologise. There is an overarching point that Markiplier's video now handily falls into when it comes to the term censorship. I'm not sure whether his circumstance qualifies, but many people believe it does because of something as arbitrary as an emoji. But in the context it is provided in Mark's own video, it is not that at all. He used it for a voting system, and YouTube now have the context, they have the receipts, the video is there. He's proven his point, and you should now reinstate the accounts. If people are going to get done for spam, how long until people with videos are going to get done with spam? If they haven't already, because I know some channels were in fact demonetized because they were uploading something that was too similar to the other thing. God, I hate those formats though, right? Anyway, I'm very intrigued to know what you think about this circumstance and whether or not you believe it falls into the bracket of censorship, because it has allowed others to now jump on it and say, this is censorship. And there is an argument for it, a very strong and compelling argument for it. Now, as we are done here, I have just released a now nearly 3-hour-long tale over on the Moisky Reads channel called The Shadow over Innsmouth. I will link it below. Please consider giving it a listen. It took me all week. I'm also, for this Friday, releasing The Call of Cthulhu. If you are at all interested in listening to me read these particular tales, check out the channel linked below. So I hope you'll have a fantastic Monday, and thank you all for listening.